my name is Jacqueline Chen. I'm with Suffolk, and a little bit about me. I'm going into my senior year at the University of Southern California, majoring in civil engineering. And this summer, I'm on the Waldorf Astoria project in New York City. So I chose to do my CDX scenario map on MEP coordination because it was one of the first pain points that I saw in the construction industry. Just on my project alone, we're experiencing over a month delay with one of the coordinations, and like going through like the whole MEP coordination process digitally, it was supposed to help the schedule, but nobody on the general contractor team was aware that the coordinated layout was even in our court. So going directly in, I'll go through the workflow first and then explain each of the shared panes that I found. And then I'll go through the future state that I created. So like I mentioned, this is the current state of the Waldorf Astoria project and part of the field operations. So the general stakeholders are the general contractor, which in this case is Suffolk, the trade partners, which represents the MEP subcontractors, the architect on record, the engineer on record, and the trade coordinator, which in this case is a third-party subcontractor that Suffolk has hired called Planet. And these are some of the personas that I have just from the stakeholders, and the systems of record that are represented are Procore, Bin360 Docs, Glue, Bluebeam, and the job site server that we have. So going directly into the workflow, we'll start off with Procore. So first, with Procore, the contract documents are taken from Procore and shared with, are downloaded and viewed in Bluebeam, and then shared with the MEP subcontractors.
Up for the monitors. Hello?
Sorry. I think there was someone talking, but
I cleared it out. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay, so basically, all the documents in Procore are opened in Bluebeam and then shared with the MEP subcontractors and Planet, which is the trade coordinator in this case. And then after the contract documents are reviewed, the subcontractors, the plumbing subcontractor, electrical subcontractor, and mechanical subcontractor, they create their own subcontractor models in a software called AutoCAD MEP. And then Planet creates the respective backgrounds in Rivet. And then after this process is completed, all of the MEP subcontractor models are imported into Bin360 Glue. And then the Planet's backgrounds are first imported into Bin360 Docs and then also imported into Glue. After all the models are in Glue, Suffolk, the general contractor, molds together all these drawings into something called a merged model. And this merged model is constantly being updated and coordinated through Navisworks. So Navisworks, Navisworks is a program where coordination is happening with the general contractor, the trade partners, the MEP subs, Planet, and everyone. And all of the issues and coordination logs that are found in Navisworks are tracked in a Bluebeam session that the architect and engineer of record, or otherwise known as the design team, is part of. And every single change in coordination, the design team needs to update their own Revit model. So with their own Revit model, they update, the engineer and architect work to update their own design model and then emails this model to Suffolk, and then Suffolk then imports this into Procore. And then because these contract documents and design models are used as reference for both the MEP subs along with Planet, the third party's trade partner, they are also uploaded into Box, and then the Box link is emailed over to Suffolk, and then again imported into Bin360 Docs to be viewed by everybody. And then so after all the coordination issues are solved and complete, and there are no more coordination issues, a coordinated layout is produced. And with this coordinated layout, Suffolk and Planet, the third party, they review this drawing, this is a 2D drawing. They review this and they send it over to the architect in the form of an RFI. It's called a CL RFI. And then once the architect approves this drawing, it gets imported into our job site server and then synced into Procore again. So going through the shared panes, just starting with the first one, the whole reason why the coordination process needs to be completed is because there's lack of initial information coming from the contract documents. Some wall might be clashing with a plumbing pipe, or some other clash might be happening. And the subcontractors usually like to create their own models instead of using the original design team model, because the engineer doesn't usually use the proper pieces to model, and it's hard to modify somebody else's model in their respective program. For example, because the architect creates their design model in Revit, it doesn't have the same functions as what the MEP subs use, which is AutoCAD MEP. And these respective MEP subcontractors, they have their own library of pieces and components in their program that they prefer to use, which makes it more efficient for them in both the design and fabrication process. And then the second shared pane is this whole process with Bin 360 glue and docs. There are a lot of different sharing locations, and the GC or architect and everybody in all the stakeholders in this process are constantly being put on a wild goose chase to find a single CAD file or architectural drawing. So having a centralized place where everything can be stored can be really helpful. And this goes side by side with the Bluebeam session, where the issues and coordination logs, a constraint log is being created. There's a lot of disconnected issue management logs because not everybody can access the Bluebeam session. And with this whole process, with the architect sending the general contractor their Revit model and uploading it into Box, and then sending it to GC to upload, again, these are a lot of unnecessary steps that could be eliminated with just the architect uploading it directly to Procore or having them directly upload it to Docs. And with the job site server. So usually the job site server is not used officially. However, all the job sites that I have seen use their own job site server. And this creates a lot of redundancy, and the job site server might not have the most accurate versions of drawings that Procore does, and vice versa. So these are a lot of the pain points that I noticed, and this is my workflow for the current state. And then going over to my objective statement. So it's about MEP coordination and how might we prevent delays in MEP coordination where construction on site is being held up in ways that lessen the time spent scavenging for information and help ease of access and communication so that teams are more connected, efficiency is increased, and redundancy is reduced. So moving right into our future state, a lot of the initial process of reading the drawings and creating the models is kept, but as far as storing, I decided to see if we can use the Autodesk Construction Cloud, because the Autodesk Construction Cloud allows us to do everything that Navisworks, the Bluebeam session, Glue, and Bin 360 docs could do separately, where the models can be stored there instead of Glue. Clash detection can be done here instead of Navisworks, and PDFs can even be stored in ACC, so that the issue creation with RFIs and a constraint log and other Bluebeam markups could be done initially in ACC instead. And so some of the and also for this process, we're really cutting the middle party out with with the architect emailing Suffolk their own drawings and eliminating box and having them just upload it directly to the software needed. And so these are a lot of the shared gains. First off, just eliminating the job site server and having everybody reference Procore and enforcing that really heavily so that everybody always has the latest and greatest drawings. And with this, also cutting the middle party out will become a shared gain instead of a shared pain. And then one of the big things is involving the design team in the Bluebeam, in the contract documents, and having them give a little bit more initial information to all the stakeholders involved, because having them provide certain dimensions will help everybody in the end. And the biggest one is just having ACC as the centralized system of communication and storage. And thank you for listening to my presentation. Welcome any questions that you guys may have.
Awesome. Great job, Jacqueline. Round of applause. I will say the one thing you mentioned at the end about designers, being able to provide measurements in real time. One of the thoughts, at least that I've had related to innovation on that front is why does the designer even need to provide measurements at all if their design 3D information is accurate and you can pull your own dimensions? Is that something you thought about or considered?
Yeah, so obviously the ideal situation is going directly from the contract documents to the CLR files, to shop drawings, and then directly to construction. But that really is only seen in like design build projects. And I think them just providing all the initial information is not that much of like a feasible future state.
Yeah.
I'd like to commend you, Jacqueline, on just the presentation from the current state to the future state. Much clearer, very nicely done, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Very cumbersome process. Brings back nightmares.
Yes, one of the reasons why I chose it.
Yeah, it's tricky, but I'll just say this: it starts with, as you said, design team and project delivery methods. While you think it may be easy for the design team to do these things, this gets all into the means and methods discussion. And when you try to tell somebody how to build something, they're usually just going to be like, "You're the designer, so stay on the design side." The design assist IPD approach, where it's actually design teams and trades work much closely together to create those construction documents is much better. But do you know what type of project delivery this was? Was this design bid build?
So the Waldorf Astoria is a renovation project. So we're dealing with a lot of existing condition issues.
Like cost plus.
It could be, but it's probably a design bid build just based upon that, which inherently inhibits the entire process to begin with.
Yes,
you can put the best software in place, but if the contract is what limits this type of collaborative flow, that's where it is, and that's where a lot of us in the industry have been doing this. Is like, hey, while it's easy to blame the design team for this, they're contracted to only do a certain scope of work, and that's typically deliver 2D drawings. Asking them any more than that is gonna, they'll charge more fees and the other things like that. So you're unpacking a much larger issue here, but the fact is, and sorry, Jared, all the Autodesk stuff is fantastic. Which I agree though, getting it all into one spot, no matter what software you're using, just being able to find the right information when you're doing it is a big struggle, and try not to keep actual field installation activities from being held up. It's definitely always a delicate balance there, but nice job, good approach. Definitely a viable solution. It definitely can even be improved upon a little bit more with some other things, especially with the things that don't quote me on it, but some things that Autodesk is doing, some things we're doing at Procore.
Mhm.
Just the way that the industry is trying to start pushing these things. Yeah, it's an improvement.